Hey, welcome back to another Chill Art Hangout. Sometimes I like to go around and see what people are talking about. And there was somebody who was going to art school and didn't know how to deal with the idea of pursuing an art career and having it fail. Anyone who wants to pursue something artistic, they're constantly bombarded with people who actually really care about them and want the best for them. And the way that we care about people is to fill their heads with fear. What if this happens? It's useful in a really planning way, but what it really does is just makes people afraid and doubt themselves. If I imagine something not working out, it probably wouldn't, because I will be dragging myself the whole way and not putting my whole self into it. And then when it doesn't happen, it validates my feelings of a lack of self-worth, or I knew this wasn't going to happen. Therefore, any time that I think something is too good to be true or something's not going to happen, I'm going to believe it because I was right. Which is kind of like the opposite of a survivorship bias, right? And I imagine myself, years from now, being able to make cool videos about you can do this, and this is how you do it, and all sorts of cool things. So I do feel kind of weird talking about this topic in general usually, because I don't know my future. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I'm not a 22-year-old YouTuber doing high-risk YouTube dream stuff, right? So I'm not going to be a person who's going to be like, oh yeah, you should quit your job and do your dreams. There are a lot of people who just say everything just works out. There are lots of people who did not turn out just fine. So I think all of our fears are valid, but I also think that you can do things safely. You don't have to do everything all at once. You can do it like I'm doing it, where, we just took care of ourselves first, followed our dreams or did our hobbies in the off time. You can do that. We don't have to be, top 30 under 30 and accomplish everything at the age of 25, I did read something where a lot of our anxiety is actually us just trying to predict the future and predicting the future in the worst case scenario, and that makes us nervous. And I think that's where the buzzword of grounding comes in, where you just take stock of where you are right now. Are you comfortable? Are you sleeping in a safe bed? That's usually how I get myself to sleep if I'm having an anxious night. I will lay there and be thinking, I am so grateful that I am inside a dry room right now. I'm snuggled warm in a bed, and most likely it will happen again the next night. And that is a really super common question that people ask YouTubers in particular, because they make it seem like YouTubers put everything in one basket. I don't consider myself a YouTuber by definition, but most large YouTubers usually have something else kind of going on, right? But people just see it as, oh, you just get famous on YouTube and that's it. And then what if YouTube stops functioning? What if we all switch to short form videos? Or, what if YouTube crashes, they run out of space, whatever. But what really gets me is that nobody goes up to a doctor or a contractor or, a server, a grocery store clerk, a veterinarian. We don't go up to these people and say, okay, well, what are you going to do when this is over? What are you going to do when this building burns down and that's it? People don't really talk like that, which is weird because that kind of stuff happens a lot. Nothing is actually safe. It was only 5 years ago where I was working in a grocery store. It was the most boring job I've ever had, but it was also the best job I ever had. And I was thinking to myself, this is agonizingly mind-numbing, and it actually made me feel worried and stressed to think that I was going to do the exact same thing for the entire rest of my life. And I was definitely on the track to be a grocery store worker for the rest of my life, for sure. This was a giant store that existed before longer than I did. 3 years in, I finally got the schedule that worked best for me, that gave me time to do all this art stuff, and I thought, this is great. And then they decided to close down the entire store. Half of the staff were lifetime workers at the store. And because they had a better contract than the other half of the staff, anywhere between, $25 to $32 an hour to work in a grocery store. And where do those people go? But that was our safe route. That was your safe paycheck. You'll never know if your company is going to restructure and get rid of you, as everyone has been learning in the last year. Ultimately, what happened is a few people probably got to go to a different store. I moved on to a job that was way worse but paid better. Most of the time, people will find a way. If it doesn't work, you'll just go do something else. I saw an interview recently with Markiplier, and they asked him what he would do if YouTube ends. And his answer, everyone's answer, is usually just, I'll do something else. And it's interesting context because, Markiplier and Ethan of Crank Gameplays, they made a whole channel together called Unus Annus, and if you haven't watched it, it's just a channel of random silly videos, and they did one every single day for 365 days with the goal at the end to delete everything. And the theme of it was to remember death, to remember that not everything has to be a vlog, a video clip. It's a giant lesson on what would you do with your life if you knew that in 1 year you were going to die. And in a year, that channel had gained 4.5 million subs, and then they deleted it and had a funeral. And then they both moved on to other things, filled that void. And when I quit my last job, thinking that, well, that job was coming to an end at some point anyway, it was summer, and I figured that there would be enough bad jobs out there leading into Christmas that I wouldn't have an issue. And then lockdown happened, and I was afraid. We do take care of ourselves first and just figure it out. And there are people everywhere right now who are going into finance and law and medicine, trying to make it and spending all this money and getting into debt to do the safe thing that they thought was safe, and it turns out that it just isn't what they want. But nobody ever questioned them. They never thought, oh, what if you don't make it as a finance, blah, blah, blah. They just do it. Let me know in the comments what you think you've done that absolutely impresses you if you really think about it. When have you been super resourceful in need? When have you been brave enough to try something and have it actually work out? And if it didn't work out, do you regret trying? I'll see you in the next one.